Good morning. I'm out in my garden this morning. I'm going to be planting my vegetable garden, and I thought I'd show you my notebook and the things that I do to plan for the garden. The sound in the background is this fountain. So if you're wondering where the water is coming from, the sound of running water, that's my fountain out here on my patio. We did this patio, I guess last year, up in the front of our house. The grass just wasn't growing here, and my husband was tired of trying to take care of it from, I don't know, it was just dying all the time. And so we went ahead and pulled it all up, and we've got a nice little patio out here to sit in. This is my notebook, and I've got all my seeds that I'm looking at right now. I look at the planting guide to see what I can plant. Right now I'm a little bit late, but I've been busy, and we're going to move on to summer vegetables. In this notebook I have a layout of my garden, and each year I mark what I do with it and where I plant what, so that I have a grid. When the seeds come up, sometimes it's hard to know what I planted where. This was the orchard, and it actually has died. It got diseased by some leafcutter ants that hollowed out the trees and went for the leaves, and they were continually eating the leaves. So the trees are gone. We're actually going to revamp this year and do an herb border around and do a patio or something, an eating area out here, which will be fun. But I want to show you these 4 beds. This one is still in the process of being recovered, but these other 3, my husband has taken landscape fabric and put soaking hoses underneath and then covered it all with landscape fabric. This is our 2nd year. The first year we've planted in this bed. Now this year we're going to be planting in this bed, and we're going to do a 4-year rotation to let the soil rest in between and see if it stays more healthy, where we don't have to amend it every single time we plant. We live on very loamy soil, and the nutrients just run right through. So my project today is to burn holes in this landscape fabric in order to plant the tomatoes and peppers. Okay? And then also I want to lay out what seeds I'm planting where, and get the lettuce in. The lettuce is going to need to have a place where I can put some row cover over it, and I love mesclun. I don't know how you say it, but I look for the mesclun mix, and it's a whole variety of greens. So it's like buying one of those plastic cartons at the grocery store from Central Market and have all those mixed greens in it. And it's a clip and cut and eat kind of garden. You just go out and cut what you need for the day, and then it just keeps going and going until it gets too hot, and then it goes to seed. Okay, so here we go. I also wanted to quickly flip through this section. This is our journal part, and this is what's gone on in our garden every year, how we amended it, what failed, what the weather was like, any improvements to it that we made. It all got written down in here. So this is a nice thing for me to go back and say, okay, well, what day did I plant those? You know, what really went on in the garden that year? And so I can go back and I can see what I've planted. Anyway, thought that would be interesting to show you all. Okay, out of my seed packets, there's some certain things that work better for right now. I usually hold off planting my pumpkins until the 4th of July so that they don't produce pumpkins way before Halloween. If you just do it around the 1st of July, you'll get pumpkins that won't rot before Halloween. The other thing is green beans are great to plant right now. I usually soak these between 2 pieces of paper towel while I'm preparing the beds, just for an hour or 2, just to soften the husk on the bean. The other thing is, if it gets too hot, above 90 degrees, these will stop producing, but you can still leave them in the ground, and once it cools back down in the fall, they will produce again. So Don't yank them out too quickly. Some of these seeds in this natural gardening mix that we got are fall planters, but I'm going to go ahead and stick them in the ground anyway because they're all a mix, and we'll just see what comes up. Parsley is usually a spring harvest kind of plant. It usually peters out when the temperature gets too hot, and so I will plant some of these, but I doubt I will get much from it until I plant it again in the fall. And where I plant it, it should come back the next spring without any reseeding. As long as you've left the plant in there to produce seeds, the seeds will drop, new seeds will form, and this goes with fennel too, is the same way. If you let things go to seed, you'll have more plants the next year. The other one that does that is cilantro. Is really easy to do that. Is you just let it go to seed. You can harvest some of the pods while they're green and throw them into some salad. But if you let the cilantro go ahead and produce its pod and it drops, the next year it just sprouts out of those little seeds that have dropped in the dirt. So it's kind of a self-sower. Yeah, so all these, the parsley, the basil even too, is that kind of thing. These are all warm season herbs that I'm going to be planting, and they can go out now and tolerate the warmer climate. So the savory, the basil, lemon balm, and tarragon I'm going to go ahead and plant. The Swiss chard, I have good luck with it year round. I know some people just keep it for the springtime or over the winter, but I just do it anytime and it seems to always come up. So I don't have any problem with that. So another thing I do is I keep my seed packets, and after I've planted, I put them in these plastic sleeves in the back of my notebook, and then that way I can always refer to the planting guidelines on the back of the seed packet if I have any questions. I also write down the day I planted so that I can count days to germination, and that's how I keep track of what I planted for the year. Okay, just a quick thing. Last year we planted in this bed. It has some holes already burned in the landscape fabric, and I may do my herbs over there so where they don't get trampled upon by the other vegetables. I also save these outer beds for my vines because then they can go in the walkway. So my pumpkins and gourds and patipan, they all just go around the perimeter, and so they're out of the way. My tomatoes I usually keep towards the back of the garden so that they get the sun all day long, and then my peppers are usually in the middle. Peppers and beans. So we'll see. I may end up needing the two quadrants of beds this year for all the seeds I have. We'll see. Okay, here's my list of things. I'm going to take my yellow notebook, and I leave this here in the house because I don't want it to get dirty. And I take just a lined notebook pad out to the garden that's kind of, I don't care if it gets muddy. And I write down what bed I put these all in. And then I transfer it onto the sheet and then put this sheet in my notebook.